everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be going through all of the books that I want to read in July. I have quite the list. It's a bit ambitious. It is 10 books long. What am I doing with myself? That's a very good question. Like, in May I read 4 books, and this month, yes, in June, doing a lot better. It's not even the end of the month yet. I think I've already read like 6. I think I'm gonna read a couple more, but I had a week of holidays, and for some reason I am like now convinced that I'm like some sort of reading machine who cannot be stopped. And like a lot of these books are chunky, so I'm like, I'm being a little delusional if I'm being 100% honest. So I have a whole stack of books that I want to talk to you about, and also a question to ask. So how do people feel about TBR games? Like, I feel like a lot of people are stopping doing them, but are they stopping doing them because like they just don't want to do them anymore, or because like people don't want to watch TBR game videos anymore? Because if you didn't know, I have had a TBR game for like probably like 3 years, and I really like it because for me, I know a lot of people like, because like it was such a trendy thing, they like started doing them, but like they never really liked it. They don't, a lot of them are like mood readers and stuff like that, and so it never worked for them. Whereas me, like, I mean, as we can see from this, I have a list of 10 books, and I will read, I probably won't reach out into books that are not on this list. Like, I will read off this list. I won't get to all 10 of them, but like I'm probably not going to just be like, you know what I really feel like reading? Not these. So I like the TBR game for that reason. It's like, it gives me a list. These are what you are reading. And I'm like, okay. And sometimes it pushes me out of my comfort zone, which is fun. But also, like, I'm perfectly fine with just making a list. So like, if people don't care about TBR games anymore, then I won't bother. Because like I did make the board, but then I was like, is there any point? Also, I haven't finished filling in all of the prompts. Like, I have it like the shape of it, but I don't have like all of the prompts in. It's like 2-part question, you know, do you want me to continue playing my TBR game? If the answer is yes, what prompts do you want? So ponder that and we'll see. Maybe I might do it like every second month or something because I like it. And that's all that matters. I do have 10 books here to talk about, and in July I actually like don't have that many vlogs planned because I have like a lot. I think I have at least 3. Yeah, I have like 3 that I'm like are in the works, and so I've kind of decided that I'm dedicating myself to sequels and finishing series because I think I've been pretty good when it comes to my reading goals this year. The one thing that I'm not doing great at is keeping on top of series. I keep just like starting more and more, and I want to at least continue, if not finish some. So let's get into the list. So the first book I'm going to talk about is actually not a sequel or anything like that. It's actually non-fiction because, as I said, I do have my non-fiction goal where I'm trying to read roughly 1 a month. Obviously, if I read 2 one month and none the next, that's fine. But I currently have for my library Biography of Resistance, which is a non-fiction about antibiotic resistance crisis in microbiology. And if you didn't know, I actually have a degree in microbiology, and so a lot of the non-fictions I've been reading this year have not actually been about what I chose to do in college or anything like that. I've been reading, you know, more historical. I've read some like music centered ones. I've read some memoirs, but I haven't read any like science-based ones, which is kind of funny. I don't know if it's like, here's like an introduction to antibiotic resistance, or if it's like, you know, here's in-depth, or like somewhere in between. And if you have any nonfiction recommendations, please let me know. I think I've kind of decided that memoirs might necessarily be my thing. And from what I've read so far, I feel like a lot of my favorite ones have been, I guess, a little more woman-centered. So that's book number 1 that I want to read. That is probably a book that I will get to. I know I said that I don't actually have to like do any like themed reading vlogs this month for like my schedule wise, but I do have 3 books that would fit into one, and that is a reading anticipated releases. I actually still haven't like edited and posted the volume 1, let's call it, which I'm trying to think of the books that I read for it. I know I read Everything is Tuberculosis, Adrift in Currents Cleaning Fear, The Tomb of Dragons, and I think there was another one. should hopefully be getting posted soon, but I have a whole load more of anticipated releases that have only just like recently come out, and I want to obviously film part 2 for it, so hopefully you'll like be getting them pretty soon after each other, and so you'll get to know my thoughts on like the brand new 2025 release. One of the ones in that will be Bare Bones and Midnight Soil, but I am hoping to finish that in June. I haven't started it yet. This is like the longest I've waited to read a V Schwab, but like time has just not been on my side, but like I'm hoping that I will get to it in June, but if not I will read it in July. And then the other ones is, so is it the Emily Adventures by Martha Wells? These are actually technically not a new release. These are a re-release of old Martha Wells books. I believe they are like YA adventure stories, and I think this is actually 2 books combined into one. I guess I'm like a little afraid of Martha Wells' backlist because there is quite a lot, and also I don't read a lot of YA, so like I'm a little afraid to read these, but I feel like if they're re-releasing Martha Wells stuff, I feel like it's like, okay, well, I might as well read these. It makes it a bit easier to like dive into our backlist. So I will be reading those hopefully, maybe. Everybody Wants to Rule the World Except Me by Django Wexler. That is the sequel to How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying. And this is the Dark Lord Dabby series. And I read the first book when it came out last year. I gave it like a 3-star. I liked it, but I didn't love it. And I suppose I am anticipating it because I want to kind of see how I feel, because like I was very like conflicted about the first book. Like there was things in it that I loved, and then things that it just like got a little repetitive to me, and so I'm kind of, this will like be the decider. I know it's only going to be a trilogy, but if I don't like this book, I'm not going to continue, and if I do like this, then great, I'll continue. So How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying, it follows Dabby, and she is like stuck in this like simulation video game. We're not 100% sure what it is, but she is the hero and she has to try and the Dark Lord, and she has died again and again and again, and she always ends up respawning, and she has had enough, and she decides, well, if you can't beat them, become them. And so she decides that she's going to be the Dark Lord, and we follow as she tries to do just that. And as I said, I really liked some of it. Honestly, my biggest annoyance with the book was the fact that she kept saying that she couldn't really remember stuff from the real world, but then she'd make like really obscure like Star Wars references and stuff, and it's like, okay, so you don't really remember Earth that well, but you remember Star Wars. But it's like, okay. And it happened so many times, and it was such like a little pet peeve of mine, but hopefully that won't happen in this book. I doubt it though, because Django Wexler really loved the references on the first book, so I'd say that could still potentially be there. And my third anticipated release, which this one is like definitely getting read, is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. Ashley Poston is one of the romance authors I trust. Her and Emily Henry are like my go-tos. I don't read romance that often, but if I do, they're my go-tos. I feel like a lot of her books have like at least one like either author or reader or something like that, or like somehow involved in publishing, and this one I can't remember is one of them a lot. But I know it follows like musician, at least one, and then I think there's like this song that both of them kind of like can't get out of their heads, and so they keep getting like drawn back together by this song because they have to like, I guess, finish it maybe. And that sounds like a really interesting story to me, and as I said, I just trust her. I don't love her books, like they're all solid 4 stars, which I think people don't appreciate their 4-star authors enough. Like when you have an author that you know when you're reading that book it's going to be a 4-star, sometimes you need that. When like you're in like a 2-3 stars, like just they're meh, and like you're like, I need something that I like. I like having an author that you can just go to and be like, you're gonna be a 4-star. I appreciate them. And so now on to sequels. So some of these are more likely to happen than others, but we'll see how many we can get through. So the first one is definitely getting done. Like this is going to be read, and that is Wrath by John Gwynne. This is the 4th and final book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. I'm reading along with the Catch Up Book Club for this series, and I'm really enjoying it. I think I've given every single one of them 4 stars, and I do know that the live show is going to be fairly late in July. I think it's like 3rd or 4th week or something. It's like pretty late, so I have like a good bit of time to read this. Like I'm excited to see how this finishes. I feel like I don't see a lot of people say that like this is their favorite book in the series. I feel like everyone's favorite is either the 1st or the 3rd. I feel like those are the ones that I see talked about the most often, so I'm excited to see how it ends, but also like a little nervous because like this doesn't seem to be anyone's like favorite book in the series, which is a little scary. But this series, it takes place in the Vanished Lands, and there is this prophecy about the avatars of these two gods, the Bright Star and the Black Sun, and they are going to represent each of these gods in this god war. And we have these smaller point of views, at least in the first book, as they are like royalty and giants and like important political figures, as they are coming together and like discussing and trying to figure out these prophecies and thinking that maybe the time is coming that they are coming true. We follow Corbin, and he doesn't really have any like idea of what these prophecies mean or anything like that. He is just a boy who is getting ready to undergo his trials to prove himself a man in this town. And we follow him and his family as he begins to train with the sword and just his like day-to-day life. And then obviously as the series goes on, all of these things begin to become more important and significant. This is probably the next most likely book to be read, and so that is The Heir of Novron by Michael J. Sullivan. So the first book is obviously Theft of Swords, and I have really enjoyed them. They're not like favorites, I don't love them, but I really like them. They're 4 stars solid. And I read Age of Myth, which I think actually a lot of people prefer to this series, and I don't know, maybe it was the audiobook narrator or something. I think it's like a prequel series in the world, and so I'm kind of intrigued to go back and maybe reread that. But I gave it like 3 stars. I thought it was like very boring. And this one, like, to me, it's like very mannish fantasy, which usually I don't love. Like, I can like it, but usually I don't like get really invested in it. But there's something about this that like just really gets me absorbed in the story and in the world, and I've just like really thoroughly enjoyed the story. And this is the 3rd and final book. Obviously, actually, it's technically book 5 and 6. All of the books in this series are technically 2 books. I think it was maybe originally self-published, and then when it got picked up, they combined each into 2. In the series, we follow Rose and Hadrian, and they are swords for hire, and at the start of the book they are basically tasked with stealing this sword, and when they arrive to steal the sword, they discover the king is dead, and obviously it has been a setup, and they are going to obviously get the blame for this, and so they end up having to work their way out of this, and they end up kind of teaming up with a princess and kidnapping a prince because they believe that there is someone in the castle who is committing treason. We get to learn a lot more about the past and what has previously happened in the world and how magic has kind of died and maybe it's coming back around. And as I said, I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with this, and I'm excited and slightly terrified to finish it because this is like, I'm sorry, like this is already thick. Also, I got the pages wet. We're gonna ignore that. I think it's like 923 pages, and like this is Bible paper. Like, I'm sorry, look how thin that paper is. So I'm terrified, but it's gonna be good. Then also one that I am like pretty confident that I will read in the month is The House of Always by Jen Lyons. I don't really need to talk about this for too long because this is a reread for me. I have been reading one roughly every month in this series, just like damn through my reread. I really like this series. I love it. It's one of my favorite. I think it's in my top 3, and this is actually one of my least favorite in the series. I think it's my 2nd least favorite, but I still really love it for like the character moments in here. Like, there's some character moments where you're like squealing, and so I'm excited for those to reread those. But like, I think this is like the most repetitive book in the series, and so I'm a little, I mean, I don't care. I'm still gonna give it 5 stars. I know I will, and those character moments are gonna be so good. I love this book series so much. So this is the Courts of Dragon series. The first book is The Ruin of Kings, and in that we start by following Kieran, and he is in a prison, and he is asked by this creature across from him to tell his life story. And so he begins his life story when he was sold into slavery, and he was like bought by this mysterious group of people and taken away. And then this like creature across from him interrupts him and says, no, that's not actually where your story starts, and starts a few years prior, where he is just living his life as a bard's son, and he is also a thief on the side, trying to get enough money to get out of where they are living. And one day he ends up stumbling into a house where there is a demon, and he ends up kind of getting chased by this demon, and eventually, after all of this has calmed down, he ends up getting claimed as one of the lost sons of this royal house and gets taken in. Throughout the story, we end up leading up to where these two timelines meet again, and we find out that everybody wants a part of Kieran because there are a bunch of prophecies that maybe he is meant to destroy the Empire. Those three are definite. Obviously, my nonfiction is a definite, and I'm fairly confident in the anticipated releases, but even then, like, maybe some of them I might leave for next month. But 4 of those are definite. And also, like, these are 3 chunky books. Like, this is ambitious enough as it is. So the fact that I'm continuing to add more on is questionable. Out of all of them, this is probably one of the least likely, and that is Seasonal Fears by Sean McGuire. This doesn't finish a series, but it does continue one, and is Seasonal Fears, which is the second book in the Alchemical Art series. So the first book is Middle Game, and Middle Game you can definitely read as a standalone, and I was going to just leave it as a standalone, but then I was over in London last year and I saw it for £3 off, and it has a signed book plate, and I was like, sure, why not? And then I bought it. And I know a lot of people don't love it as much as they loved the first book. I feel like I've definitely heard mixed reviews on the rest of the series. It's just even from people who loved the first book. So that does make me a little nervous, but I feel like it's been long enough since I read the first book that maybe like my love for that won't necessarily cloud this. Middle Game I read, I think maybe 2 years ago now. And I was thoroughly surprised by that book. Like, I did not think I would love it as much as I did, because like I know a lot of people who read it, like they're more into like a bit weirder stuff. And so I was kind of like, maybe it's not going to be for me. But like, yes, there was weird elements to it, but it did stuff that I love, which is play with time and be slightly confusing. The first book follows Roger and Dodger, and they are siblings who have been separated at birth, and their creator has made them basically so that they will one day become gods, and he wants to use this power for themselves. And so one of them is very good at maths and numbers, and the other is very good at language and words, and when they come together they can do like incredibly powerful stuff. And this one, I believe, maybe follows different siblings. I don't know if they're different siblings or different, just like a different pairing or what. And then we have Mirrored Heavens. I feel like this is the one that is least likely to get read because it is impossible to find the audiobook, and that is how I read the first 2, and I would like to finish the series the way I started them. But if necessary, I can just read the ebook. I gave the first 2 books, so Black Sun and Fevered Star, I gave them both 4 stars, and it wasn't because necessarily because I like really liked the story. I would say like the story itself was 3 stars, but the audiobook experience, like the narrators' voices are so lovely that I gave them 4 stars because it really enhanced the experience. And so I don't really want to read the third and final book physically or with my eyeballs because I feel like it's not going to have the same effect. And then the final book that I have on this, and again, another one that's the audiobook I am struggling to find, is A Fire Endless by Rebecca Ross. I read A River Enchanted in, I think, March? Yes. And I loved it. I did not see it coming. Like, I was so shocked by it. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I did have a couple of issues with it, but like I was so like swept up in it that I did not care. And I just like had such a good time reading it. I really loved it. And I had read maybe A Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross like a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago or something, and I thought it was one of the most boring books I had ever read in my life, and I kind of had no intention of reading her, but I needed to fulfill the bard prompt for our fantasy, and all of the books I was trying for it were not actually like labeled as bards, which was the hard mode, and I wanted to get the hard mode. And so I knew, because the synopsis told me, that Jack in this was a bard, and I was like, okay, I will read it like against my will. And then I absolutely loved it. It's one of my few fiction 5 stars this year. I think one of 3. I loved it. Like, I had such a good time. And again, the audiobooks really enhanced the experience. Thought it was a really nice, satisfying voice. And I was like, okay, I want to continue the series this way. And I went to, I think maybe it was last month, I was like, you know what, when I was in like a bit of my slump, I was like, maybe I should like try and continue that. And it's showing up unavailable on Everand. I like, not as in like scrub jailed, as in like not there for you. And that's the same thing that happens with Mirrored Heavens. And I'm like, okay, they are being mean to me. They are bullying me. So we'll see if I can get it. I did actually just buy myself a physical copy of River Enchanted, but I don't have a physical copy of Fire Endless. But I do want to read it. Let me know which of these I should prioritize. And again, please let me know how you feel about TBR games, if you have any prompt ideas or anything like that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye.